Hey guys, I'm going to show you how to abrade, clean, and recoat a hardwood floor. This is strip oak 2 1/4 floor in Dayton, Ohio that I did a little repair on and a refinish. I'm adding one more coat on top to go from satin to semi-gloss to shine it up and try to match the hallway a little bit closer. So where we are going to start this process is with a vacuum cleaner on our back and a buffer on the floor. Uh, the first part of this process is abrasion. Abrasion basically means lightly sand. Um, what that means is when you're refinishing a floor to take the finish off, you're going to sand with anywhere between 36 grit all the way up to like 120 grit. Well, when you abrade before you do a final coat of finish, you don't want to sand all that stuff off. So you're going to use a higher grit. A lot of times I use somewhere between 180 and 250 grit. This particular floor here has a little bit of stain, so I'm going to use a higher grit. So what I have here on the buffer is a Norton sand dollar, and it's green in color. Norton sand dollars are a pretty unique tool. It's basically a 16-inch piece of sandpaper with holes cut in the inside of it that allow dust and heat to travel through. That's why I wear the backpack vacuum. Obviously, it doesn't pick up all the dust because you can see the white stuff left on the surface as I abrade. But it does keep stuff from going airborne, keeps our lungs healthy, keeps our clients happy. I kind of like seeing the white on the floor anyhow. It lets me see the progress of what I'm doing. It also just kind of looks cool, to be honest. So you can see I'm moving kind of slow. I don't go super fast. You don't want to skip across the surface. You want to make sure you're getting a really good abrasion. So, like I was saying, these sand dollars in terms of grit are not really expressed in numbers. They go from like rough to ultra fine. I basically only ever use the yellow and green ones, which is fine and ultra fine. And this is a green one, which is ultra fine. I use the fine for natural finish sometimes, so it's just a little bit more rough, but on a stain floor like this one, you run the risk of burning through the stain and pulling some of that color off if you sand too much off. And plus, I don't want to sand too much off. I'm trying to get a good build on the finish. That's what you're doing when you're putting polyurethane type finishes down. This is water based, but it's still technically polyurethane. So I'm buffing all the fuzzy stuff off. You get grain rays when you do water based finish. Here I'm going to change this and you can see what the sand dollar looks like. So there it is. It's a green Norton sand dollar. I've got a maroon pad on the back of it to drive it. You never really want to put your sandpaper straight onto the driver pad. You want interface between the two. So that's what the maroon pad does. So I just flipped it. These are good for two sides. You can usually get a good amount of square footage out of them. When I'm doing one room like this, I basically just do half and half. So since I am in the middle of the room, I just went ahead and switched it because I don't like to keep dirty sandpaper in my van. I know that's kind of wasteful, but I'll get rid of this thing after this job. So I'm buffing the rest of the room here. I go around the whole perimeter first, basically anytime I sand. It's kind of like mowing grass. You go around the whole perimeter, and then that gives you an outline of where to work, and it also kind of gives the sanding a little relief when you get to the edge. So when you change direction on the sanding path, the sandpaper doesn't stay charged up the whole time. And by charged up, I mean covered in bullshit whilst it's in the middle of sanding. So we're getting pretty close to finishing up the abrasion part. I'm going to vacuum a different floor in this video to demonstrate the vacuum step of this process because of video recording issues between the two jobs. But you're going to get the picture and you're going to understand what we're doing because it's really just cleaning. You get to go do probably the most satisfying vacuum process of the entire refinish job, which is vacuuming up all this white stuff. And then there's another part of the process that I'm not going to show you in this video because I didn't get any footage of. I'll get a more detailed one on a future video on how to refinish floors, but that step is tack clothing, and that's after cleaning with the vacuum. For tack clothing, it's basically what it sounds like. Any residual dust left over after you vacuum, you pick up with a super fine microfiber cloth. I use Bona's, and they've got a nice tool for that also. And I'll demonstrate all that in a later video for you guys too. I'll show you all my tools I use. I'm basically just getting my beak wet in YouTube here. I promise I'm going to get really good at it though, and you guys are going to look back at these videos and be like, oh shit, it used to suck. I'm going to quit cussing too. A couple people recommended that. It'll open me up to a wider audience, I guess, and I really am trying to talk to young people while I'm doing this. Okay, so here we are about to vacuum a different floor because of the issues with recording in that other room. And I think the only issues were that I didn't put my phone on Do Not Disturb before I hit record, and I got like a text message or something which paused the video. So I'm going to get better at that too, I promise. So this is another natural finish floor. Or no, it's not. I stained it. But it's white oak, strip oak. I think it's featured in some other videos on my page. But I had just abraded the edges of this, so I haven't done the field yet, but you can see how meticulous I am with vacuuming. I actually did mow grass for a living for several years, so I apply a lot of those techniques to sanding and cleaning and stuff on wood floors, so you'll see me do that sort of stuff. But I know it's not just wood floor or grass mowing. Okay, so we're done cleaning. We tacked, like I said, and now we're coating. So this cut pot you see in my hand is, I believe, a Wooster Pelican, they're called. I like to use it, and I've got a 2.5-inch paintbrush in my hand. I don't know if a lot of guys use this method. I really don't care either. I've trained myself, as you guys know, and I've used all the methods, and this is the one that works best for me. You can see I'm using my PU 280 cut pot on this job because I left my finished cut pot on the other job. This is a weekend warrior situation that I'm on right now, so try not to judge all of the blue drippings on this pot. I promise none of them made it on my finished floor. So I cut the edges in first. I set my pot down, and now I'm going to roll across everything that I just cut with the brush. That evens out any of the brush strokes, and it also puts a rolled surface on everything, which is what I want. And now I'm going to pour a line of finish. You can see my custom labels there, Dayton Hardwood company stickers. I'm going to start selling those with my t-shirts and swag and stuff soon too, but that's a whole different topic. Okay, so we're rolling here. You can see that I pour a line across the wet surface, and then I start pulling it towards me with the roller. I change handle pressure the whole time. So if you watch, I'm holding the ball on the end of my roller pole. This is an Anza roller. They rule. They're really great. That ball gives you a lot of control. So if you push down on the ball, it's going to leave more finish on the floor. And if you take all the pressure off of the ball, it's going to pick finish up off of the floor. So what you're doing is picking it up from one spot and moving it to another, and then evening it out, which is what I'm doing right now. I like to hit every spot at least twice, sometimes 3 or 4 times. It evens out brush strokes, it pops bubbles, it ensures that you don't have any missed spots, and it also gives me peace of mind. stuff you can't do with the T-bar. I know that a lot of you guys like to use T-bars and trim pads and stuff, but trust me, you want a roller and a paintbrush for water-based finishes. That's the best thing. So now I'm cutting the other side. So basically I got like 2/3 to 3/4 of the way across this path with my finish. Now I come to the other side and cut that edge in. You can see me kind of wiggling the pole around. I think I wanted to just use one hand this whole time. So that's why it looks like I'm using one hand. Now I connect the dots. So I'm going to pour one more last line of finish. And I'm going to pull that line of finish to the wall that I just cut in with the roller. That's going to connect these dots. And then I'm going to go back across it a little bit like you saw me do in the front of the room. That's going to, air quotes, equalize the surface. And it's also going to make sure everything's nice and even. And I'll also bend down and look in the glare too to make sure that there's no missed spots. All the finish is evenly distributed, and you want plenty on there, but not too much. You don't want puddles. The salesman will tell you to leave basically just a swimming pool in the surface, but all that does is pay them more. You don't want to do that because it'll swell up your boards and cause you more trouble than good. Trust me. So I'm connecting the dots. I've poured my finish out. So I'm rolling to the wall and then back up front. You can see how beautifully flat this floor is too. That's, I hope, one thing anybody's noticing, and that's from the sanding methods and equipment that I use, which is featured in other videos and happy to answer any questions about. But this is a flat floor. It's 100 years old and it's never looked so good. And it's going to have a semi-gloss finish on it when this dries, which will really pop. Turn this floor into a piece of furniture in this antique house. It'll be really awesome. I hope I get to come back and see it one day. I usually don't, but you know how that goes. These people are really stoked on it, though. I actually broke a window in their house and had to fix it, and thankfully their floor looked so good that they didn't get mad at me about it. I think I'm dancing, listening to music. Try not to judge me. I've got headphones in this whole time. I always listen to like Aphex Twin or punk rock, usually like NoFX. It just depends. Hopefully you can recognize the logo on my shirt to be old NoFX. Try not to trip over your finish bottle. I do that all the time. We're coming up on the end of the video because I'm at the end of this run, and that was the end of the area that I could hold my phone while I'm working. So I'm going to do this wet edge here. I'm going to roll back across once or twice, and then I'm going to show you what this floor looks like while the finish is drying via a still photo that's coming up, and then I'll also show you a reference photo against the existing floor in the hallway. That's what this is. This is the color we were trying to match. I'm standing in the hallway, and in front of me where my coffee and cut pot is the room we were just in. And this view is the finished product while the finish is drying. And it looks a little different color, but I promise once that finish dries, it'll be almost indistinguishable. I used to suck really bad at this part of the job, and I'm still not great at it, color matching, but I've gotten better over the years. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you learned something. Peace.